Hi Sloths, and welcome to Unpopular Opinion, which is a brand new style of video that I am trying out. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, still let me know. The main goal of this style of video is just for me to express my unpopular opinions, and with My Hero Academia coming back for season 5 recently, I thought I'd start off with my unpopular opinions about My Hero Academia. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments telling me how terrible and stupid I am. Let's start, shall we? Basically, I want to tell you first about what I personally think of My Hero Academia, and that is that My Hero Academia is a somewhat generic superhero anime with mostly obvious plot lines, a whiny main character with edgy rivals, and the main character is being tutored by the best of the best. He's also an underdog. There's also Mineta, the small guy who uses sticky balls. He's an ultra annoying, perverted scaredy cat crybaby who shouldn't even fucking exist. He's so disgusting that I'd literally want to rip my ears off every time I see him. Now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the next thing. Oh, by the way, just so you know, I actually do like My Hero Academia, but it definitely has some flaws. Next thing I want to talk about is Tetsu. It's a fucking boring name and a bland character. It's as if it was created for a small joke, but they kept bringing him back and tried to turn him into his own character, and it just didn't work very well. Although I do like the fairy tale references. There's a lot of fairy tale references, and I do like fairy tale. Anyway, next thing I want to talk about is Deku. The name, not the character, kind of. I mean, Deku is an abbreviation for Deku Nobu. I think I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, don't kill me. And Deku Nobu literally means good for nothing, if you translate it from Japanese to English, which is a stupid name for a hero. It really is. It's like, from now on, Deku is going to be the name of a hero. Well, that hero's name literally translates to good for nothing, pointless, useless. So it really is a stupid name for a hero, not gonna lie. I like Bakugo, but sometimes he's just too loud and too obnoxious. It just gets on my nerves sometimes, especially if you have like a headache or a hangover and you're watching an episode that mainly features Bakugo screaming his face off. Yeah, it's not fun. I hate Mineta. I just no, kill him, rid of him. He shouldn't exist. No, he it looks like a fucking toilet with his stupid outfit. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. I also don't like his quirk, sticky balls. Like, seriously, could you make it any more obvious that it's supposed to be the pervert amongst perverts? It's just, I hate it so much. Anyway, next up is Uraraka, who is really fucking bland. Like, no joke, she is one of the most bland characters I've ever seen. They tried to make her a bit more interesting with the whole gunhead martial arts and the romance with Deku, but that's just comes off as more bland, the romance thing. Not the gunhead martial arts, that's actually kind of cool, but yeah. And her reason for like wanting to become a hero is so she can help her parents out with money. Okay, that's fine, but just the entire thing is just so forgettable, and she's a forgettable character who just happens to be the love interest of the main character. It's just, ugh. And there's all sorts of like fan service as well. So much needless, random fan service, and it's always caused by either Kaminari or Mineta, or both. Usually both. And some more little nitpicks I've got for it is that, well, sometimes there are just too many characters to keep track of. That might just be a me thing, and I understand why they do it. It's because it's an entire class, and then you've got another entire class, and then you've got all these villains, and it's sort of like there's a character for everyone. My Hero Academia doesn't really have much filler, and its pacing is very straightforward. For once, there's an anime that doesn't have much filler, and everything is just like main story every episode. Well, nearly every episode. There's bits of like filler and stuff like that, but it still mainly fits. Even the filler still mainly has bits of it that fit into the main story. I kind of like that, but I also kind of don't like that, because there could be some really great filler involved. Like, I'd love to see an episode about how quirks actually work in society. Like, are you allowed to use quirks to help build things? Do they use quirks for electrical generation? Who knows? Not us, because they never mention it. It's like, would they be able to use it for like construction and stuff like that? I'd really like to see like an episode on that, or two maybe, 2 different episodes, like one episode where it talks about how quirks work in society. It's like what you're allowed to do with it and what you're not allowed to do with it. And maybe another episode where it talks about how they figured out how they're going to manage quirks in society. Anyway, the next little thing is we don't actually get to know much about the other pro heroes. They just exist and we have no idea. We have no idea what they're doing. We have no idea why they fight or where they fight, or if they're now just teachers instead of actual pro heroes, or what. It's like, who are they and what are they doing kind of thing. I'd like to see like a couple of filler episodes, maybe talking about who these other pro heroes are and why they came to be and all that kind of thing. And now my last point is a pretty big one, and I've known people to get annoyed at my opinion of this, but the end of the second film got ridiculously stupid. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen the second film. At the end of the second film, basically there's this super tough villain that neither Deku or Bakugo or anyone else can defeat on their own. They gave it a really good try, and they even worked together, and they still kept getting the shit beaten out of them. And then Deku was like, okay, so what if I just transfer my quirk over to you, Bakugo, because you're like 2 million times better than me, and it'll just beat the shit out of that guy, but we'll win. And Bakugo's like, you're an idiot, but let's do it anyway. And instead of actually ingesting DNA, because according to All Might, the only way you can actually transfer One For All is by consuming that person's DNA who has One For All. They didn't do that. They literally just touched fingers together, or locked fingers together, and all of a sudden transfer semi-complete. We'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, that should not work. That is a massive plot hole. And then another thing with the end of the second film. After this, both of them are able to use All For One at the same time, which is fine, because obviously, you know, there's still embers within Deku, and somehow both of them are able to use 100% on their entire bodies right from the get-go, and none of their bones like shatter. It's like their entire body is still intact and fine, mainly. I could be remembering bits of that wrong, I'm sure. A couple of bones were broken, but not through One For All's 100% after the transfer. I'm pretty sure it happened before the transfer that they broke the bones. So, yeah, that's a little bit suspicious. It's like, how can they both control... How can Bakugo control it straight off the bat? Just makes no sense. And how does it work with a second quirk? It's like, at that time, Bakugo has 2 quirks, so how does One For All and his explosion quirk mix together? We didn't really get to see that much because he mainly used like One For All as if it was like All Might or Deku using One For All, so we'll kind of never get to see that. And then the last thing is that at the end, Bakugo completely forgets all about the whole One For All transfer all thing, and One For All transfers itself back to Deku, and it's like Bakugo never had it in the first place. How does that work? All Might gives a very brief explanation saying it's just some sort of miracle that One For All just decided to do for some reason, but my theory is that it never really transferred to him in the first place, or not properly. It's like a temporary share power-up boost thing, because Bakugo never actually, you know, swallowed any of Deku's DNA to be able to actually properly transfer the quirk over from Deku to Bakugo. Yeah. I know that was a little bit rough, but yeah, those are my unpopular opinions about My Hero Academia. It is a good anime, kind of, despite everything I've said. There are massive bits that put me off, like Mineta, and just the whole obvious plot lines and bland characters, and I don't know. It's a pretty decent anime. I can see why it's so popular, but I just don't like it as much as everyone else. and hopefully now you can understand why. Please like and subscribe, it's always free, and I'll see you later.